Heading to Las Vegas to catch the action at Allegiant Stadium? Skip the traffic and the sky-high room rates of the Strip. Book your stay at the South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa. The South Point is located just 7 miles away from the stadium, and it's a quick trip up the freeway, making it an affordable rideshare or taxi ride. And don't worry about getting here when you land in Vegas. We offer a convenient airport shuttle to get your getaway off to a stress-free start. Shuttles are also available on Raider game days for a small fee. So whether you're rooting for your team or seeing your favorite band in concert at Allegiant Stadium, South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa is your ticket to all the excitement.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza. If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry-aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone.
Ready to ramp up your excitement for playoff football? Join our hosts as they break down the matchups, key angles, and futures markets in the final episodes of Football Frenzy.
Seattle Seahawks get it done.
You look at these two teams and you say, wow, they did really well against quality opponents.
Brock Purdy to throw an interception tied up with the Seahawks in this game. I think that's a little bit of a correlation.
I would have given a huge ups to the Rams defensively. Not anymore.
Don't miss your chance to cash tickets and root for your favorite team. Stream Football Frenzy every Friday at noon Pacific.
Here we go. Welcome in, everybody. Just a little over 48 hours until kickoff. And if you're looking for the best, most valuable information leading up to the big game, you've come to the right place. This is Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy. Just a quick reminder, we are 13 subscribers away from our goal. We had a goal of 2,100 before the big game on Sunday. So please just double check and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. We have quite the lineup here for you today. I'm very excited about this. I'm Alex White, your host, alongside co-host and producer of Sports by the Book, Ryan McCormick, also the son of STN's VP, Jason McCormick. And then to my left on the desk, we have 3 SBC Hall of Fame bookmakers with us today. We've got to my left here, Chris Andrews, Sportsbook Director here at the South Point, Vinny Magliulo, VP of Gone Gaming, and we have Jay Cornegay joining us today, current VP of Superbook Marketing. Now, we'll start with Jay. He is our special guest here today, and correct me if I'm wrong, you two. You can't find one person in Vegas that has ever said a bad thing about this guy, right? A lot of respect.
You don't have an ex-wife,
for Jay.
Wait, on the golf course, I did say something. He made a putt one time, and he's a lefty, and he sank a putt for, it cost our team a bunch of money. So I said a couple of things that day.
A couple of things. Vinny's calling himself out. Other than that, right? I mean, everybody around Vegas.
I do have one funny thing, though, about Jay. First of all, let me just say, it's an honor to have him here. And he's one of so deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. And we'll get into a lot of the stuff of what he's done. And I think at the Westgate, I really think they have some of the sharpest lines, anywhere for years. When we first moved to this town, my wife opened a phone account. She says, where do I go? I said, just go to the Westgate. They'll have the best numbers. Just go open one account there. She put in $300. It took Jay's outfit 8 years to beat her out of that $300. She finally had to go in this year and put in another $300. So the sharpest bookmakers is and we'll get on it a little bit later. My wife does not like the same side I do in the Super Bowl, which scares the hell out of me. So
that sounds about right.
That's a little tease right there.
Guys would ask me, did you give her those games? I don't give her anything. She picks on her own.
She does. She's very good.
Well, let's dive into that a little bit more, because I said current VP of Superbook Marketing, but former Executive VP of Sportsbook Operations there for a long time, Jay. And now we have these huge packets of Super Bowl props. Now some books are doing a ton of player props and stuff during the regular season, every game. But really, you at the Westgate helped get this going. Can you kind of give us the background and how it all was initiated?
Yeah, well, going back to the IP days, Imperial Palace, and we opened that book in August of '89. And back then, that's when the NFC was really dominating the Super Bowl. Every single year, it was a blowout. It was really boring. And so we got into the 90-91 seasons, and we thought we'd try to come up with some propositions that wouldn't be decided until the second half, just to keep people interested in the game, because the second halves were so boring. Everybody was going around, and the beers were starting to kick in. The hot dogs were a little stale at that time, but the action side of things was very dull. It just wasn't happening. So we decided to come up with some propositions that weren't decided until second half of play. And back then, if you remember, a lot of books only had about maybe 20 or 30 different propositions for the game. And we probably posted about 40 or 50, with a lot of those being decided in the second half. And so it really took off. It was something that, the bettors really warmed up to, especially recreational players. By the time we got to 1995, that was the Chargers and 49ers game, and that we all know who was going to win that game. It was like an 18.5 to 20.5 point spread, pending the time you looked at it. But that year, we really exploded with the propositions. We tripled our menu. We got up to 150, maybe almost 200 back then for that game, because we knew that game was going to be very dull. We already knew who was going to be the champion. Let's make up a lot of different propositions. And I give my team credit, Ed Salmons, Jeff Sherman and company. Those guys came up with so many different propositions. We had a lot of fun doing it. Back then, it was pizza and beer, in someone's living room. We held that tradition until recent years. We went big time and got a ballroom to do it now. But it was something that, we just wanted to give back to like the fans. We just wanted to entertain the fans. It wasn't really a revenue thing. It ended up being a revenue source, but it was more of an entertainment factor for us. We just wanted to really give our guests, our customers, something to bet on that nobody else had.
Can I add a little something to that story? Because I was at the other palace across the street from Jay, and we used to come back and forth to each other. And right around that time, I had this great idea. I'm going to put up more props than we've ever put up before. I even put out like blue paper. I was like, I'm going to put out legal paper, and I'm going to, just like we have now, but I did it horizontally and everything. All right. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we got 80 props. This is the greatest thing of it. Andy Isco, God love him, who's still running around town and keeping track. I think he's still got every proposition bet that anybody ever put up in the history of Las Vegas. He goes, boy, that's a great menu you guys, Vinny. He goes, hey, I got this from the Imperial Palace. And I look at it, it's like 20 pages already. And I'm like, geez, great. So, but to Jay's point and to Jay's credit and his team, you have to give credit where it's due. And again, Chrissy and I, on a recent show, Alex, remember we talked about how sure we all compete in this business, but I coined a term once, cooperative competitiveness, because we're all in this together, and you have to be mindful and respectful, right, Chris? As we talked about, and encourage people to shop too, and go look at different things and stuff. So to Jay's credit, not just because he's here, but that's why he is here, because we have that kind of respect for him and the team over there. So kudos to the folks over at Westgate, right, buddy?
Yeah, well, and started at the IP, but I think Jay has a huge footprint in what's going on in this business even to this day. You started, like you said, you had 40, 50. I mean, we got 300 props. You've been in my office. We got a small office. Jason's dad, he's got 1,300 props, I think. But he's got a much bigger crew than I do. But, but you started this. And I mean, that really has been a trend, not just in Nevada, but I mean, everywhere from, DraftKings and, all this. And I think a lot of it can go back, we kid Manteris, who started with that refrigerator prop, but you took it absolutely to that next level. But Vinny's right too. Yeah, we're competitors. Of course, we've been competitors for a long time. We're also good friends too. So that's just the nature of this business. And it's funny, you go, like a lot of the handicappers, they all hate each other. But all the bookmakers, we all pretty much love each other.
Yeah, that's very true. I never thought about it that way, but it is true that I hang out like with a number of bookmakers that have been in town for years, and we're in the same fantasy leagues. We give each other a hard time. We play golf here and there, and despite being competitors, we certainly do, as Vinny said, we respect one another, and that's been the case ever since I've been in the business.
Me too.
I know that we've sent people over, to different books when we didn't have the offering. We had a lot of propositions. We had a lot of different things on our menu, but when we didn't have it, we would send it over to across the street, over to Vinny's place or wherever they need to go to, bet on something that we didn't offer at that time.
Well, that's why I told my wife, open an account at Westgate. I said, they'll give you everything you need. You'll be fine. Just bet there. I didn't know it was going to take you that long to be around at $300.
That's so funny that it took us that long. Yeah, that's but we tried to give them a fair shake. But 8 years or whatever.
I can't wait to find out our selection on the game here.
Well, it's coming up. It's opposite of me. I can tell you that.
That makes me nervous too.
Yeah,
I think that is really fascinating about the blowouts and how these kind of came about to have more.
Sure.
Props going throughout the game so people weren't getting bored. I would have never guessed that that's how you guys really came up with starting this huge catalog now.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was really just the entertainment factor. We weren't really thinking revenue, but it made sense later on when we were like going, instead of having one big game, the game itself, that's really going to decide not just today, it's going to decide the next few months, because it was such a big decision. But as we evolved in this prop world, it became we had maybe 15 to 20 of those decisions. And the more we had, the better off we were on the revenue side of things. So it was first entertainment, and then it became a revenue source later on.
And we will get to the actual matchup here between New England and the Seattle Seahawks in a moment. But I do want to ask you guys a few more questions and just kind of building off of that, Chris. Now, so much of the handle comes from the props, right? Yeah. So I see it all over social media and stuff that, the books need the Patriots. They have to have the Patriots. Everybody's betting Seattle. But that's not true because a lot of times you can balance it with the props nowadays.
Well, yeah. And I have a story. Maybe I'll tell a little later if we get a chance. But, I was on a show. I guess it was this show or somebody's. Anyway, they're asking me, what do I think is the ratio this year? And I think it's going to be about 65, 70% on the props because there's the game is just not getting that much action, Jay. I've talked around people around town. They're all kind of in the same boat. The totals moved half a point. The numbers between 4.5 and 5. And you're not going to break down any doors to get either 4.5 or 5 on plus or minus, so that really is not inspiring a lot of action. It's not like a 2.5, 3.
Research this a few years back. It was an average customer for the Super Bowl would have 5 or 6 prop bets and then 1 bet on the game. It might be the largest bet that they make, but they would have 5 or 6 tickets on the props and just obviously the 1 bet on the game itself. So that's how popular they have been and how they become. They probably represent in the low 70s as far as percentage wise. So say 72, 73% of our action is now on the propositions.
And they will be about there this year.
Yes.
Yeah. And you think about it too, because you're engaged in the whole game. Like we are from the bookmaking side, but as to Jay's example and what Chris is saying, if let's say somebody does have 5 prop, if it's a statistical prop on a player, whether it's yardage or number of receptions or rushes, whatever the case may be, it's going to come down to probably the very end of the game. So you're as a bettor, you're involved in the game throughout. And of course, as we go, we try to post them as quickly as possible, but oftentimes we have to wait for the official box score to post and things like that. But the way props have evolved, and I think Chris brings up a tremendous point, and to Jay's as well, about 70%. This Super Bowl, with the number, and remember, there's only one Super Bowl that ever fell 5, right? It was the Niners against the Bengals. And what was that, 81, 81
or 82.
So you've got...
Would have been 82.
82. The 82, it was 81 season. You're right, Chris. Yeah, 26-25 San Francisco. That this Super Bowl will probably represent the one that has the highest ratio of props to the side, to the number itself.
Makes sense, right? There are definitely some big name players on the offensive sides, I would say, for both of them, right? And looking at both of the quarterbacks, people definitely want to get involved with Sam Darnold, whether it's for him to fail or to continue this great run he's been on. And then Drake May, the young new quarterback, stepping in for the Patriots. So should be interesting. I do want to ask about second half betting and how that has kind of evolved or changed. So Vinny, I'll start with you. You guys haven't first half right now. You guys haven't moved off that 3. But people who are here watching live and stuff, do they still go up to the kiosk and the counter and everything and put in a second half bet, or is it just become more in game?
Oh, I think it's a little bit of both, Alex. I mean, certainly the in game has been a great addition in recent years. But yeah, everybody will be, because it depends on how the game is going too. Yeah. I think when people are going to bet the second half, and it's there. And let's remember, this halftime lasts at least 2.5, 3 times longer than a typical halftime. Right during the season, it's 12 minutes, I think, something around that. This is almost like a half hour. So if nothing else, there'll be some impulse buying too, right? As when we announce, and the other part is, and I'm sure. At the Westgate, you have expanded viewing, right? So here at the South Point, Chris, right, there's like 5,000 people upstairs in the ballrooms and with kiosks and a betting sportsbook setup up there. So the fact of the matter is that people are more aware of it. So I think that and depending on what they have in the game and how the game has played out in the first half, you know, the halftime will always continue to get betting attention in the Super Bowl.
And did it, Jay, when you guys were first thinking about props and keeping people engaged, how was the betting then, like halftime, where people would jump in?
Well, halftime used to be like one of our biggest decisions way back when. But as more and more people get comfortable with in-game, I feel like it's slowly going to and pass, and maybe it already has passed the halftime, bet, because people are getting more involved in this in-game. Because when a team falls behind, I can hear it all the time throughout the room. Oh, I got to get down. I got to take this now. It's, let's just say Seattle scores first. Let me take, the Patriots plus 7.5 now, or whatever it might be. It's a thing that's growing and has been growing ever since it became part of our world. That's in-game wagering. The halftime, I'd say it's still popular, but in-game is taking over and not replacing it, but certainly taking its share of the pie.
Well, it's made it a lot easier to make that halftime number, too, because you're doing the in-game all the way through. And what was the last in-game? Did they score? Okay, just put up the same number.
Throw it up. Let's go.
So, but makes it a lot easier.
Hey, Chrissy, you posted the second half already, though.
Yeah, we
too.
posted it.
Just as a
That's
prop
right.
now that it may be the same, it may be quite different. But
I think that was. We got a few that nobody else has. I didn't see too many other. I'm not sure I saw anybody else with that one.
I don't know.
We put that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, let's talk a little bit about which props have taken the most action here at the South Point. Then we'll kind of go through the game. I'm curious you guys' thoughts on, and we'll go through some of the position players and see if there's any X factors that you guys have. And then we'll get into a little bit of stories here with the former Super Bowls that you guys have all been involved in. Maybe good or bad. Maybe some bad beats we could hear about too. But all right, Chris, what are we looking at with some of the most prop bets so far?
Well, some of them I definitely would have liked to have rethought. Barner was scoring that first touchdown, which is totally screw up on my part. And let me just say this, and these guys will probably confirm it. When everybody, hey, when you're putting up the numbers, when you put, whether it's Sunday nights for next week or whatever, it's probably well over 90% of the guys, they just want to see what the number is. And they just want to start thinking about what's next. Then you got maybe 5, 6, 7%. They want to make a bet. They're ready to go. They want to make a bet. Then you have that 2, 3%. They're just hoping for you to make a mistake. And they got me in this year. And that's why my crew up there, they very rarely let me touch the computer. And this is one of the reasons why, because I put in a wrong price. I put in the same price for Barner to get the first touchdown for Seattle and the first touchdown overall. And we got nailed on that one. So I'm hoping he doesn't score.
But you'll honor it too, though. That's important.
Oh, we'll honor it. Yeah, we'll honor it. I know the guys that bet me, and they're not my favorite guys, but that's the way it goes. The roughing the passer, I think I put up a bad price on that. I put up the no, not high enough, and I'm up to 250 on the no roughing the passer. And I think it's one of those deals where when you see a roughing the passer, it has such a big impact on the game that it's in your brain, how important, so you tend to think that there's more than there actually was. So I'm rooting at this point for that there will be a roughing the passer. But we are starting to get a little bit of two-way play. And that is part of the art and science of bookmaking. Just, listen, you move the number and it's going to be yes or no. And that's just the way it is. And a couple of the other ones I got were the first touchdown for Seattle. Will it be a rushing touchdown or any other? They bet me on the rush. Just looking at some of the really big ones. Total number of interceptions, they bet me over. They bet me fumbles over. And I think a lot of that is just the public, But here's one I think I probably put up a bad price here too. Longest score of the game, field goal or touchdown. And field goal, they're kicking some long ones. Although these guys are not the greatest. They're not in that automatic 60-yard touchdown. And then what's how long can the longest touchdown be? Well, essentially it can be 110 yards, so it's not quite infinity, but there's, much more possibilities on the high side there. So I put that one down. I think I probably mispriced that, but I got a bunch, that I'm looking at that, again, a lot of them are the public, like, will Cooper Kupp score a touchdown? And that's another one. He could go 59 minutes and 50 seconds without a touchdown, scores in that last 10 seconds, all of a sudden you got a winner. So people like betting that kind of thing, but overall, those are some of the ones that I've got the most play on. And, I hope we can just kind of split them out a little bit. And if we could split them out, we'll be just fine.
Chris, I got a question. Do you agree that about 80% of the action comes in the last 2.5 days?
Oh, God, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, we're just getting there.
Jay, from your lips to God's ears, I'm hoping that's the case, because right now there hasn't been that much action.
Yeah, I think it's certainly going to pick up starting tonight.
Hope so.
Okay, and, all day tomorrow night, and then, of course, Sunday morning when everybody waits. And, to get in line, to open up an account. If you're listening out there, I suggest if you're coming into Las Vegas or wherever you're going, to open up your account early. Don't wait until Sunday morning.
Don't do it Sunday. Yeah. I mean, we'll try to take care of you, but.
The thing going to the props is that it's a really good attraction for, both recreational players and sharp players. Sharp players are always looking for those mistakes that you talk about, and we have our share. We have a history of those as well. Yeah. And we got to eat those, and sometimes they go in our favor, sometimes they don't. But it's that recreational play that really drives these numbers the last couple of days, as they just overwhelm the windows, overwhelm these bets, the bets that are just coming in. And when you talk about Cooper Kupp, I'm sure we're not going to need him to score a touchdown. One of our worst Super Bowls was actually the Patriots and Eagles. And when that Philly special happened, I said, I thought, if Nick scores here, I am not watching the rest of this game, because we almost have every listed skilled player if they're going to score a touchdown or not. And usually the no is a favorite, and they always take a shot. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be the third string tight end. They're betting them to score a touchdown. And I can't remember how many people scored a touchdown in that Philly New England game, but there was a bunch. And then when the quarterback scored, that was it for us. It was one of the worst, if not our worst, Super Bowl for prop results. That just
that's interesting, because I'm going to tell the story later. That was one of my best. But there's a lot to that story too.
It's see, Alex, these are not stories; these are flashbacks. Bookmakers have flashbacks, you see. So when you talk about the handle, and yes, I mean at least 80% or more. Right? Today's Friday, and we'll start. When you look at the handle in Nevada, which we can talk about, 151 million last year. Now, the year before set the record, but that's because the game was here too. So I think that had a lot to do with it. It was 190. But you go back, so the last couple of Super Bowls outside of Las Vegas were in the 150 to 153 million range. But this is also an event where the public, right, guys, will outdrive the professional bet. And oftentimes professionals will be on one side of a lot of the props. A lot more unders by the professionals, but Jay brings up an important point where bettors, they love to root for points, and I think probably, again, I said this in an interview the other day. Everybody, you're going to have the whoever's got the ball, the other team, fans are going to be chanting defense, right? You got the husband and the wife, who's got the D, who's got the fence, and they're lying. They're lying. They don't want defense. They want points. They want
the defense to score.
They want the defense to score, absolutely, which is a prop. So, but the other benefit too, though, is with so many props, you can balance them out, and you can kind of mitigate your liability. Whereas, in my God, when we broke into this business, there was, you were living and dying with the decision on the game, and that was it. So, but it's beneficial and it's fun, I think, from both sides of the counter.
Vinny, you guys and other bookmakers around the city and us and these people that have been trying to educate might be doing too good of a job right now, because these prop bets haven't really moved up. But it seems like a lot of people are going to unders now and are just getting suckered into just betting everything over. But still, definitely, I know that
the public hasn't shown up yet either. So,
hoping for some high-scoring games. Let's welcome in Ryan. We haven't seen Ryan yet, co-host and producer, and I know he has a question for Chris here.
Yeah, Chris, when this matchup was first set, you'd made an argument that looking at the season schedules for both teams, that if it's a high-scoring game, kind of a shootout-type game, that favors Seattle. And if it is a low-scoring game, a defensive-type battle, that would favor New England. I was curious if you still kind of had those thoughts and what you think for the total in this one.
I do think that exactly, and we'll get into some of the props and some of the things. And I'm not out there betting a whole bunch. I did make a bet on this game, but just one bet on Seattle. But I could see if you were inclined to bet on New England, maybe not. I think a portion of your bankroll would probably be well invested on New England and under, because I think if you look at different ways for Seattle to win this game, I think there's a couple ways for Seattle to win this game, including high scoring and including low scoring. I don't see the same with New England. I see them, if they're going to win this game, the advantage I see to New England is the coaching staff. Mike Vrabel, they played and won 3 Super Bowls, and McDaniels coached, I want to say 6 Super Bowls.
6 as the OC.
Yeah, but still,
More
that's
than that
experience.
on the staff, yeah.
That's experience, and that's where I think maybe the game. Listen, there's always some rough issues, rough moments in any game. I think the experience that those guys have could keep the team together. But I don't think they're going to win a shootout. I don't. But like I said, I wouldn't put my whole bankroll on that. But I think there's a little bit of a correlation there. As a matter of fact, we were talking upstairs. I think if you were looking to build a portfolio, let's say, and you like New England, you might want to bet that first quarter. Take either plus a half or take plus. I think we'd have a plus 130 here. And if they could win that first quarter, I think they're going to be in the game. But like I said, that's going to be part of the portfolio. If you think that, and that might be one thing you're looking at. But I think New England and under would be your best shot if you are going to bet a correlated parlay.
Or looking at the second quarter for New England, because I found that is their highest scoring quarter of all 4. They averaged 10.1 points in the second quarter.
Well, that's not bad either.
10.7 in the second half. So kind of falls into that easy schedule, right, where they would get a lead and then hold that lead, sit on it. So they actually led in 15 of 17 regular season games at the half.
Interesting.
Trailed in one of them and was tied in one of them, and then they were 2-0-1 in the playoffs. So that's kind of where I'm stuck. How does that all play out here, right? And how do they play if they are behind, since they are the underdog?
I think Chris brings up a point that I agree with. I think when you look at this matchup, the coaching advantage, and not just the head coaching advantage, but as a staff, it goes to New England. I think from a personnel standpoint, a complete personnel standpoint, I think it goes to Seattle. Certainly, turnovers, mistakes will determine a lot. Going to have an impact on this game, and it's not just player mistakes. I mean, oftentimes you think about, is it an interception, a fumble, turnovers, and things like that, which certainly come into play. Just look at the Texans. But you can also say which coaches are susceptible. I mean, Sean Payton probably made one of the biggest errors in this postseason by not kicking that field goal and going up by 2 scores, and he admitted it. Of course, then the next day he fired half his staff, but that's Sean Payton. But Alex, it's you look at that and you break it down, and that's where you're going to start formulating things. The other part is too, and it ties into everything we're talking about. Again, we're booking the game. We have to book the game, but you don't have to bet this game. That's why you have the advantage of seeing how things start to play out, and it speaks to the first quarter. That's why it's got the lowest total too. Is it a feeling out kind of period and things like that? So, you have as the bettor the advantage to say, you know what, I really can't make up my mind on this dead number, this 5, this 4.5. But so I can watch it. I'll have some props. And then take advantage of the in game or the halftime, right, Jay?
Oh, yeah. Most of the time when we're booking these throughout the years in the season, we're always wanting to know where the sharps are and, what they're doing, how they're seeing the game. And, this year's no different. When we first open up the windows, they're betting all these things, all these different types of propositions. You name it. Some of them might be misnumbered. Most of it's just a different opinion than what we have in the back room. But we certainly respect them. But the funny thing is, by the time we get the kickoff, we're going to probably need the same side as they bet on that opening day that we opened up the props. So it's you mentioned just a while ago, Vinny, that it's great on both sides of the counter. It really is. It's really a challenge for us. And as the game's going along, we're posting these things. But recently, in the last couple of days, we had some sharp play on Sam Darnold's passing yards being more in the first half than the second half, which, in theory, that sounds like they like the Seahawks there, as they can get a lead and maybe pull back the reins in the second half. But if you look at some of the other sharp plays that we've seen throughout the last 10 days or so, they're all over the place. It's really hard to get a barometer where they're going. I feel like they're going to probably play a little bit on New England, especially with the points. If it goes up, and 5's not the big number as you mentioned, but I do feel like they're going to come in on that dog there, and I think they're also waiting to see if any of these propositions get out of whack a little bit, and then help out the bookmaker to balance some of those propositions. So
when you say they're all over the place, spread-wise, do you think there's some sharps on both sides? And then also some are probably waiting to try and get a 5.5 or a 6 here? Or do you not really know right now where the sharp money or the sharps are on?
As far as the game, I think the sharps are on both sides. Okay. That's how I'm, looking at it. And just betting on the props, sometimes you can see where they're liking a few players, they don't like a few players, here and there. But even betting the props, the sharp play, I feel, is all over the place. Yeah. They're not showing their cards one way or another, except that there's some wise money on both sides.
Okay. Ryan, you wanted to ask about the quarterback position?
You guys talking about players, and I'm really kind of curious with both of these defenses being kind of as respected as they are, standing up in the second half for the Patriots. Who do you guys think will really excel against these tough defenses, or will have a bad night on Sunday?
Well, personally, I think Drake May is going to have a tough night. I think if you look back throughout the season, against the tough teams, he did not play that well. Now that, everybody's talking about the New England schedule this year, and, I think it's gotten kind of beaten to death, but it's also kind of true. He did really well against a lot of those teams that were not very good. When he played the teams that were very good, his numbers were not that great. They were really kind of mediocre. And I think you got Seattle. We talked about them all year. Are they the best defense in the NFL? I'm not sure, but I think they were right up there, and they're playing great right now. And I think May is going to have a tough time in this game. Now that being said, he might even rush for 2 touchdowns, but I think they're going to kind of bottle him up. And again, if I was trying to build a portfolio on Seattle, one of my bets would be May to throw an interception. Because I think unless they do get a good, and I don't think they will. I think that they're going to be behind, particularly in the second half. I think May's going to be forcing some passes, and I think that leaves them prone to some interceptions.
I think when you look at it first, I mean they played the schedule they were dealt. I mean, based on certainly last year's results. 2 years ago, right? Washington had a very successful season, and they got a much tougher schedule this year. So we know the Patriots will be looking at a much more difficult schedule. But I look at the division, right? You can't compare the AFC East to the NFC West, and I think that's where. And then the years of experience, not only in just starting in Minnesota, and of course now in Seattle for Sam Darnold. You look at what this guy's been through. I mean, again, all right, Ryan. Before you say it, I'll bring up my beloved Jets, who drafted this kid number 3 overall, and he walked into he fell into a very challenging situation as a rookie in that crazy media market. He bounced around, but everywhere he went, he was like a sponge. And I think if you're a parent coaching any child athlete these days, it's to look at him and his resilience and where he's gotten. Now, I'm not going to say that he's going to have he could have a bad game too, but I think his experience certainly gives him the overall quarterback advantage in this game. not taking anything away from Drake May, but a couple of years. But he's also, and I know, Jay, when you guys are putting the props together, Chris putting the props together here at South Point, you have to take into account that Drake May averages, I think, three turnovers a game between interceptions and fumbles.
Yeah, when I started looking at this game, and I agree with Chris, I think that Drake May is probably going to be pressured a lot. I think they're gonna come at him hard, and he has a tendency to hold on to it just a little tad longer than he should, and I think that's going to result in some turnovers. I will say this, that I thought the two best teams played in the NFC Championship game. I thought the Rams were right up there, and of course Seattle. Those two teams were tremendous, especially the last third of the season. They were just incredible. I thought the AFC, including my Broncos, were softer. I thought if you took the top class or top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC versus the top in the AFC, I think it was clear that the NFC were the top teams. And so the way Darnold played against the Rams, and I think that just really impressed me. I still think the jury's out. I think Drake May is going to have a tremendous career, but I do believe Seattle will probably force him into a couple of turnovers. Whether they cover the spread or not, I'm not sure. I like Seattle to win by 10-ish, just due to the fact that I think the NFC was just a better conference for most of the year.
I think we're all kind of there too, and I know we had the Rams and Seahawks since about week 13, right, as two of the best in the league. So should be interesting. Speaking of sharps kind of being all over the place, and Chris, I'll start with you, but when it comes to running backs, a lot of difference of opinions here, because I've seen Kenneth Walker's rushing numbers be bet down quite a bit here. So a lot of people are thinking that New England's run defense definitely improved, and especially with Milton Williams out there. Where are you guys right now with running backs? Kenneth Walker, anything you like, or the other two on New England with Stevenson or Henderson? Any that you like, or that you'd be looking at unders for them?
I'm looking mostly at unders for them, but I don't have them marked down as any huge moves. So I think we kind of nailed those totals, fairly accurately. We'll see, of course, what happens. I mean, I say all the time, a game takes on a life of its own. So we'll see what happens. But I think there's a good chance that Seattle will be able to run the ball, strategically much more effectively than you're looking at New England. But what's the one, who sprained his ankle for Seattle?
Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet.
Charbonnet.
No, the defensive player.
Oh, Nick Emmanwori.
The safety, yeah.
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 I'm terrible with names.
Go Ryan.
But
Emmanwori, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that may have a little bit. Matter of fact, I wound up scratching him in my props because he looks like he will play.
Yeah.
But he's not 100%. So that may have some kind of an impact too, because I think I had him in for like 6.5 tackles.
Yeah.
That's quite a few.
Been great all year for them. Rookie that was.
Yeah. So we'll see how that impacts the game, but I think Seattle's going to be in a position to run the ball, at least, like I said, strategically more often. And I would give them a slight edge. And, we'll see how it works out. I think, the other fact of the matter is, Drake May, like I said, he might run for 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's definitely, he's an issue in the running game, whether it's breaking out of the pocket or having some planned runs. Like they had some planned runs against Denver. That's what really iced the game. So I think that'll have some impact too on the running back. But overall, I think Seattle holds the edge there.
I mean, I agree with that. You got Walker about 74.5. You got Stevenson at 50.5. I know that Henderson's a 1A sort of, a light 1A there. He hasn't done much lately, but that's a big loss for Seattle. Charbonnet was really playing well and running hard, and to have that as your 1A combo between Charbonnet and Walker, that was almost like unstoppable because those guys were running. Just really hard and hitting the holes and making a difference in the game. Walker certainly can do that, but now he has to carry the entire load. So That's the big difference. But I agree with you. I think the Seahawks probably going to be able to run the ball just a little better than the Patriots.
That's funny you say that about Charbonnet. As I was going through each of these teams and first touchdown scored, whether it was them or their opponents, very pass heavy to start the season for Seattle. And then you can see where they really got both of those two guys going. And then week 16, 17, and 18, it was Charbonnet first touchdown in the game, all 3 of those weeks. And they got Kenneth Walker against the Niners, as we remember that blowout game. But yeah, so really late in the season, they were leading on those 2. So it is a loss, but we'll see what they can do. And does that give some option for Halani, the next backup running back? We'll see. But Ryan, you want to go over to receivers, or is there another position group you were looking at?
Well, so just to kind of, I guess, wrap up the running backs, do you guys think it would be if one team or if both teams are kind of able to get their ground game going and kind of control the pace of play, would that be more inclined to be going to a lower total?
Well, I can tell you the wise guys are on the under in this game. Okay. Now they're being overpowered already by we just did some what ifs this morning, and we need the game under, but the sharp guys are on the under, and I sort of lean that way a little bit, but another saying that I've had, it's never under until it's over, because sometimes these games could just have a way of sneaking over, and that's the public generally likes to bet over. I can say this: if you bet under, you have to go out and win it. Or if you bet over, you can always get a little lucky and win it at the end when some stupid thing happens. But it looks like we're going to probably need this game under, which is what the wise guys like, and I kind of favor that myself.
Yeah, ball control, right? I mean, I think that's what they're looking at. That speaks to the running game, Ryan.
And I think both quarterbacks are vulnerable to turning the ball over. We talked about May, but Darnold, I mean, throughout his whole career, he's had a propensity to either fumble or throw an interception. And I think in a game like this, they're going to try to keep that under control as much as possible. And if they do get a lead, which I think they will, and I think that'll limit his exposure to the riskier plays. But once again, I think that'll help the under as well.
You can still get a plus price here at the South Point on the combined interceptions over 1.5. So if each quarterback throws 1, you get the over there. You got 2 interceptions. But the guys that they're going to be trying to throw into are the receivers. So are there any particular receivers for each team that you guys would think is a true X factor in this game?
I'll start. I think a couple of veterans. I think Cooper Kupp, who was a Super Bowl MVP not so long ago, and Stephon Diggs could be. I mean, obviously they're not. They're not the youngsters that they were, and there's younger guys that have had far better years statistically. But you're talking about the championship game now, and I think that those 2 guys with their experience could very well be an X factor. What do you think, Jay?
JSN's just been tremendous. He's just unbelievable. The guy just keeps making plays every single game. I don't think they're going to be able to stop him, but it'll probably come down to one of those X factor guys and who comes up. Whether it's Boudet or Hollins or Kupp, Barner for that matter. It's just I think somebody is going to step up and be that X factor. Predicting who that might be, it's very tough. But I think that I hate to say that every time I look at it, I just kind of lean towards the Seahawks side.
The thing about JSN, the last couple of weeks, who'd they play? The Niners, who they played twice this year. The Rams, who they played 3 times this year. I think they played the Niners 3 times this year, too. Yep. They still got JSN open against well-coached defensive teams. I mean, I hate to put anybody in the unstoppable category because he's not quite there yet. But I'll tell you what, I mean, he's a rookie. Is he the best receiver in the league? Well, for the moment he is. They've found ways to get this kid open. Yeah. So I mean that he's dangerous. I did, and I might have been on this show. I said Cooper Kupp. You got to remember, it's a vote when they go for MVP or whatever. If he has a couple of touchdowns, I mean, I think he's going to get that heartfelt. Oh, let's give it to the kid. I think he might. it's a vote. It's not, it is essentially a popularity contest. So I think we had him 75 to 1 to win MVP. I'm not at 60. I don't want to see him win MVP as much as I like the guy. God bless.
Personal.
I could really use him winning MVP, Chris.
Can you?
Yeah.
All right, party at your house if that happens.
It was before we even had the conference championship game set. I
Okay.
put a little flyer on him at a crazy number, but well, let's dive into that a little bit more with MVP. Who are you guys leaning to? Jay, start us off. We know you like the Seahawks side. Is this a quarterback's award still? Are you looking at Sam Darnold? He's another one that has a great story, Chris, because his 5th team, and if he were to win a Super Bowl here.
Yeah, it's hard to go against those quarterbacks in a situation like this, and I don't think the rushing game on either side is going to run down the throat of the other, defense. I just don't see that happening. I see it coming down to a couple of, bigger passing plays by both quarterbacks. And since I am leaning towards Seattle, it's hard to go against Darnold. Even though I think JSN, and this is chalky, I get it. If you want to take a shot at Cooper Kupp at the South Point.
Sorry, Chris. Funny he doesn't mention the Westgate for that one.
No. He likes
I thought you were the marketing director there.
I am.
He loves spending your money.
South Point is open. That would be my longer shot, and I get it. It makes sense. The theory of just going through the game and the progression of the game and what he can bring and how he could be under the radar, so to speak, but still make those plays because he was just so good just a couple of years ago, and they've been getting him involved a little bit more each and every week over the last few weeks. But I'm going to go chalk here. I would have to go Darnold. If not, I'd go JSN.
Rashid Shaheed got some bet money here, right, Chris? From 40 down to 25. Yeah. I think he's much higher at the Westgate.
If Pam puts in her $10 tickets in, Jay's going to be in big trouble.
He's a good one because you can get, the kickoff or punt return.
I took a big, somebody bet me $5,000 yesterday on Darnold, and I said, well, you got to take that bet. But I mean, is he the favorite? Yeah, it was plus a quarter or something like that.
Yeah.
So not a great price, but I think there's 3 or 4 guys for Seattle that can win it. Or if you're betting New England, if May doesn't win it, then they're not going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's just the way. So I mean, if you were betting New England, betting on him to be MVP would give you a pretty decent value.
Agree.
Ryan, did you get in your bet for a defensive player yet?
Yeah, so my kind of philosophy on the MVP is that it's going to come down to if the Patriots are to win this game, it will be because of a mistake made by Sam Darnold and not necessarily Drake May making the play to get it done. So it would be a defensive player look, possibly a pick 6 look, or maybe even a punt return look from the same player that could do both, and that is Marcus Jones, who can also be on their offensive side of the ball and get a kind of trick play and maybe get multiple touchdowns in this game. But it was Marcus Jones that I took a flyer on at 100 to 1 here at the South Point. So we'll be rooting for that DB number 25 for the Patriots.
I don't have him on my list. I better go check him out. But we were talking about MVPs, and I mentioned it earlier on this show, the one year Mike Vrabel, I bet him to be MVP. I can't remember which game it was. It was either against Carolina or Philadelphia. He had a sack. He forced a fumble. He recovered a fumble. He had an interception, and he caught a touchdown. MVP, Tom Brady. Like
I
it's
remember
20 years ago, I'm
that
still
out.
bitter.
I remember sweating that out.
Yeah,
We took
I might
a
have
lot
bet
of
him at your joint, as a matter of fact.
That makes sense, but
Yeah, right. Too bad I didn't have my wife bearding for me. She probably would have won it.
probably because we had him out, overpriced because we get a little opinionated in the back room at times.
How could you not give it to the guys?
You're right. Yeah.
Curious you guys' thoughts on kickers and punter props. And if we are thinking it's a low-scoring game, is this when you want to take advantage of those?
I think we got punt 7.5 right now, but I think we're pretty evenly. I think we're pretty evenly bet on that one.
Yeah, 2 sides. I mean, well, to that point, Alex, there's a lot more kicker props. I mean, each kicker, how many, over and under how many points, longest punt, shortest punt. things like that. The kickers, which too are going to certainly enter into the equation of the results of the game. So I think you're going to correlate which side do you like or which team do you favor will probably, certainly impact your decision on particular props, right? So you're going to migrate to that side's players for those.
Well, at least we don't have Sean Payton in this game.
Too soon, right? I'm sorry,
because the thing these days, going for it on fourth down and all, is taking away a little bit of those points from the kickers.
Yeah.
But it's always, I can tell you, they're popular on the props. We have, will both teams make 33-yard field goals or longer? Will both teams make 40-yard field goals or longer? And let me tell you, the yes bets just come in droves on those two wagers, and I expect nothing different this weekend. So even though they're kickers, they still get a lot of action and play a big part, for Nevada sportsbooks.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Seattle goes for it a lot on fourth down, so that might favor the punts a little bit, but it depends. Again, if they're controlling the game, they may not need to go for it.
Well, yeah, they did go for it the least in the league.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Didn't have to all that much. We're in that situation too much, but then they do use Barneson when needed for fourth and short there. But I forgot where else I was gonna go. We're talking about those kickers. Oh, MVP. Do you still get bets on kickers to be the MVP? Because I know it was pretty trendy for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's kind of fallen off.
We get bets on everything, like everybody else. It's just, it's not, we have, I don't know, we have, 500 plus props, but every single of those props has at least a dozen bets on every side. Okay. At least, when you start, will the game be, final score be 4-2? We got bets on that.
Jay, if either team scores 4, there's no way I could overcome it. I can tell you that.
Oh, there's no doubt. If a game ever lands 4-2 and it was decided in overtime, here we go. We had that string of safeties.
I know
that really killed us. And
they're still betting me all the safeties.
Yeah. This is the section. It's called feel sorry for the bookmaker.
Okay. Oh, we get a lot of pity out there.
Oh yeah, we get a lot of sympathy. Good. That's what I'm looking for.
Take their money.
But we've had it's been a tremendous journey for us. Just the highs and lows. Because when you said we're having so much fun on both sides of the counter, it's so true. We're posting these things as they happen, and we're in the back room. It's almost every single play. I'm not going to say almost every single play in the back room. It's did we need that or did we not need that? And because almost every play is affecting like 3 or 4 different propositions. So it's a lot of fun for us, but it's quite hectic in the back room, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Chrissy, remember it was the Falcons and the Patriots, and we're sitting there watching the game. And before the Patriots made that great comeback, they were sitting on 9 points, and they were doing nothing on offense, and we're just sitting there watching a game, and no big deal and everything. Finally goes, what 9? You think they'd only score 9? So Chris looks at the computer. He says, what up? The Patriots score 9. Should have seen his face. He almost fell out of his chair.
and the game time wasn't that long, but it was during half and everything else. Like time on the clock in real time was like forever. I'm like, oh my God, please don't. You got to do something, Brady. Do something.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was when there was not a touchdown scored in the game until the fourth quarter. What was that? Rams and was it Patriots there?
Yeah.
13-3.
Yeah, we didn't look at that until about middle of the third quarter.
Yep.
And we did the same thing. It was the same reaction. It's just one of those propositions that you just take bets, you just let it happen, right? You don't really check it because it's not going to happen. So,
Zach White,
we were in shock.
I tell the story.
I couldn't believe
500 to 1. He hit
and it was one. Now, now, let me just tell you this.
Oh, that's right.
We wound up. That was a huge Super Bowl for us. Great, but Zach himself beat us out of 100,000 in that. Michael Glon was so happy because ESPN, everybody picked it up. And Zach's a good friend of mine. I really like him a lot. Of all the guys that beat me out of 100,000, I didn't mind so much for Zach. So he beat me out of it. And like I said, when I gave Michael the final figure, it was pretty strong. I said, but I got to tell you, this one prop beat us out of 100,000. Well, we still won that much? Yeah. So then that's fantastic. And the media picked it up. We got great publicity out of it. So he was very happy.
That was a seven-figure decision for us.
That was huge.
If it was
Three.
really, it was really scary.
Wasn't the total like 56 or something like that in that game?
I think.
Yeah.
We didn't tell our senior execs until the beginning of the fourth quarter. We didn't tell them how much. We just said, we really need somebody to score.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to score. And but I know what you mean, because when the first snap went over Peyton's head in the Seattle game, we lost $250,000 on that first play of the game. I mean, we're 6 seconds into the game, we're down $250,000, but that ended up being one of the best Super Bowls ever
was it really?
for us.
Oh,
yeah, because everybody's betting the high-powered number one offense, Peyton Manning, Broncos over Seattle, and so even though my team took it on the chin there.
I personally
it was a really good day for the
that
Bucs.
too, so,
Yeah.
Chris, do you want to finish the rest of that story you had for us?
Okay, the one. Now this is more of a Jimmy Vaccaro story, seriously. And I've known Jimmy literally since I'm 12 years old. I'm 69 now, so I've been through a lot of wars with Jimmy. But the one year when Philly, the last one, the Nick Foles, when Philly played New England, every day, Michael and Ryan Growney, Frank Tory, they're calling me, who do we need? I says, well, we're going to need Philly in the game. It's all New England money, all New England, all New England. And I'm a pretty conservative bookmaker at heart. So I needed Philly for the game. So I wanted to need New England for the props, a lot of, point spread props and first down, anything I could think of, trying just to get evened up on the game. Now that last maybe 12 hours or more, the New England money totally dried up. It was all Philly money. And I mean, tons of Philly money. So I'm sitting there and like I said, I had Jimmy at my side. I said, we need New England now for the game for this much, and we need them for this much on the props. I said, there's not much we could do about the game. We're moving the number, but it's still coming in on Philly. So we went through, and I'm telling you, I'm not even sure we had a bathroom break. We just went through and just, moved every single thing we could think of, point spreads, first downs, passing yards, blah, 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 everything we could think of. So once the game kicked off, we actually needed, we needed New England for the game, so we needed Philly for the props. So, Ryan Growney comes in, he's the boss, and this was under the old system. I tell him what we need. As soon as the game's over, punch it up. He says, how do we stand? I says, well, stuck 200,000. He says, well, how's the props look? I says, Ryan, we have over 300 props. I did my best. And it wasn't just me doing my best. I had Jimmy by my side. He guided me the whole way. God bless him. I said, Ryan, I don't know. I did my best. We'll see how it comes out. And we got and I don't even want to look. I'm not even looking. About halfway through, I tell Vinny's sitting there. He says, I got to go get a beer. I said, I'm with you, but a beer ain't going to do it. Go get me a double Jameson, so.
True story.
Yeah, it's true. And then finally, and I told Ryan, I said, it's going to take about 2 hours to get all these in. So he walks in just like as, Nick Semich was putting them in. He said, Nick said, okay, I got them all in. Like Ryan walks in, I ring it up. And Ryan looks at me. He says, well, do we get out of it? I said, yeah. He said, how much? And I hold up 4 fingers. He goes, oh, we made 4,000. So we made 400,000. And you can go look. I mean, because, you see that abstract. We made about 35% of the entire state's win came out of that room. And like I said, I give all the credit to Jimmy Vaccaro. I mean, he guided me the whole way. And without Jimmy, I don't know what we'd have done. But that $600,000 turnaround on props.
Yeah.
And without Jimmy, there's no way that happens. No way at all.
Incredible.
So that's one of my. I have a couple other favorite stories. One good, one bad, but that's my favorite story. Like I said, it makes me look good too, of course, but really, I give all the credit to Jimmy. He helped me the whole way. Without him, I don't know what would have happened.
That's awesome. One of what quick story on my part, something similar to that was when we were at the IP and we had this, and I can't remember the Super Bowl, but Ralph Ingolstadt was the owner at that time, and he came down and it was really lopsided. I can't remember who it was. It might have been maybe the Chargers and the Niners. Right. We were really lopsided. And he goes, how we looking? And I showed him the computer. I just pointed to the computer and he looked and he's like, we're $20,000 high. You guys got to move that number. You guys got to balance this thing out. And then he just leaves. And so I told Kirk Brooks, who deserves a lot of credit, believe me, for all these different propositions and what we, innovations and that he did over the years. I said, we were probably, I don't know, back then, it was probably 300,000 or 400,000 high, and that was really big for us. And we still had another day and a half or so to go, so we were going to balance it out. So we weren't too worried about it. But I go, Ralph thinks we're $20,000 high. Do you want to tell him? He's like, I'm not telling him. It's like, we'll tell him on a need to know basis. So we never told him, and it all worked out because we had a really good game. But he was freaking out. It was 20,000 when it was actually more like 300,000.
Was this Chargers in San Francisco?
Yeah.
See, I was up north there, and that weekend, the pass got bombed with snow. I mean, it cost us a fortune. And I remember, so we lost pretty good. I mean, everybody but the Niners all the time. So that, Monday after talking, hey, man, we got a bad break with all the business never came in for the bigger. I said, you guys out of your mind? I said, every one of those guys would have won. They'd have had Niners and over. There was no stopping them. I think I ran the number like 21.5 or something like that. I said, you kidding me? That saved us a fortune. I wish it would have snowed every 49ers Super Bowl.
That's right.
Up north, 49ers and Raiders.
Oh,
that's it.
It was an automatic,
right?
Guys would come
Niners.
in. Well, I'd say I'm going to bet a dime on the Niners. This is like for 16 weeks. Well, that'll pay for my trip. And then, whatever else usually that's what happened. The Niners would win, cover, and usually go over.
The old Calneva.
Yeah, the old Calneva.
That's right. Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, before we get out of here and we touch a little bit more on side and total and the full game, just curious cross sports props, Chris, that you just put up today. So
here you go, buddy.
Vinny's got the sheet right there. We got 2 different sports, right?
I'm blaming Ashley. I know she's listening. She put them up this morning. I said, yeah, just, she put up 8 of them. But I'm not even sure I've looked at them before. Vinny just handed me the sheet of paper. So win or lose, I hope we win. I'll give all the credit to Ashley. So
couple NBA, couple waste management.
You have them up as well.
Some golf
I know you do.
Yeah, I'll say something about the crossover sports. Speaking of Kirk Brooks, he came up with the very first crossover sport. Which was, speaking of the 49ers, I think it was 1990 or whatever, it was going to be who's going to score more, Michael Jordan or the 49ers on Super Bowl Sunday. And it received so much publicity. I mean, it was crazy. And, it was so popular. I know that others had to put it up. But, since then, these crossover sports, we expanded. We had pages of them. And it's a lot of work. You really got to crunch a lot of numbers. And only the sharps would really play it. The recreational players like to talk about them.
Yes.
They love to discuss them. Yeah. But they don't really get as much attention as the in-game or, field of play, sticking to the main game props. But they are fun because a lot of people do like to talk to them. And we only have 1 page now. So we scaled back and we tried to expand some of the more game propositions rather than crossover sports over the last few years.
We had to change a few this year because the Knights are not playing. Remember, we used to have with the Knights, and of course now the Olympic break is here, so obviously no Knights ones. But they're popular, but they are more, I would say, popular from a media standpoint than the actual play. Yeah,
makes sense.
Well, going back to the game, we do only have to lay a -105 here in person at the South Point on the spread of 5. So, you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I had one of my sharp guys that laid me the 5 -05. I think as of now, last I checked, Westgate might have been at 4.5 at 05.
It looks like it, yeah.
But they were at 5 and whatever you guys had, 08 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But the guy, he said, well, I'd for that half a point, it's not worth the extra nickel. You could lay 4.5 -110 or lay -5 -05. For him, to save the juice, was worth it. Of course, if it's like that 49er game that came 26-21, he'll regret it. But 5 is not a very common number, and to save a nickel there, you do it. I mean, I had another guy that took the +5 for 100,000. So I mean, we got some pretty good sharp play both ways. I kind of think we're going to stay at 5, but I said we got what 48 hours of game time. Who knows? So who knows?
I think we're going to do the same. I mean, we are at minus 105 as well on both sides, and at 5. Unless it just moved recently.
I'm seeing 4.5.
Yeah, I
4.5
checked a
now?
while ago. It was 4.5.
Was it 4.5 now? Okay. So, we went to 5 just kind of for giggles. we didn't get forced to it. We just said, let's go to, when the market was pretty much all 4.5, we said, you know what, let's go to 5 and just see what happens.
Jay, I did the same thing.
It was like a few days of just staying, it stayed at 5. And so, I haven't checked in a little bit, but it sounds like we probably took some money there at +5 to move us down to 4.5. But we did move it basically on air just to see what happened, and see what they would do with it. And they really didn't do much with it because we were there for a few days.
It'll be interesting. I'm still pretty fascinated to hear you guys start off this whole show with saying not that much action on the site yet.
Really, no.
So
The site itself, the
site itself,
props,
ton on the props, but I mean that's kind of what we've been talking about all week, so it does make sense. Just to kind of put a bow on it, opinions on the game. Who you think comes out victorious here in Super Bowl 60?
Well, like I said, I don't always bet. Last year I didn't make one single bet on the game, but this year I bet Seattle. I think if you look up and down that roster, it's clearly a superior roster. I mean, I didn't go crazy on it because, like I said, I think the coaching experience on the side of the of New England, I think, can definitely help them in a game like this. But I like the Seattle coaching staff. I like a lot of things that they've done, and I think they'll be able to take care of business. And I think if you look over not just like the last game, but like the last month, it looked almost to me like the AFC was the JVs, and the NFC was the varsity. And, Seattle came through there and beat, a very good Niner team that was very well coached, although they were undermanned, but then beat a terrific Ram team too. And I think right now they are the best team in the NFL. Listen, we've all watched football. I mean, if they won 24-20, would you be shocked? Well, of course not. But I mean, I think that they're going to win, a fairly close game. But Jay mentioned by 10 earlier. That's kind of the way I see it, maybe 27-17, something like that.
Alex, I think if this kickoff was right now, like today, we're going to need the Patriots. It's interesting too, guys. Jay, and I'm curious to hear at Westgate. Usually the underdog gets bet on the money line quite a bit. Actually, this money line is now 240 here, Chris. So it's up. It's up. So there's we laying the price on the on the Seahawks right now, which is again a lot of time in recent years it's been especially since Denver won that game against I want to say about 1998 against Green Bay. The underdog gets to play, and typically what a lot of scenarios we would need are favorite to win the game, but not cover. So, but in this game, more Seattle money line action as well. So, who do I like in the game? Again, it's always a matter of on our side of the counter. It's not a matter of who we like; it's who we need. And right now, if it was kickoff right now, we would need the Patriots, Jay.
Same for us. We mentioned earlier that 80% of the action is going to come in starting tonight and go through kickoff here. And so, we're still thinking that's going to happen. But it has been light as far as the sharps. They've been on both sides, as we also mentioned. Our numbers came out to be 4.5, 5. So it's like right on the number. However, just the eye test, I like the NFC. So I'm thinking that Seattle is going to come through and make a couple of plays. I think that we'll get to May a couple of times where he turns it over and Seattle wins by 10, 27-17.
Well, the other thing, when it first came out, I was thinking, man, the public usually does bet the dog on the money line. And if I can get a cheap money line, I was thinking, I was praying maybe I can get -$2, maybe $2.10. I probably would have bet Seattle on the money line, but it never got there. I mean, I see 230. That wasn't, 4.5, 5. That's about what it should be. So I didn't see any great value there. Like I said, I didn't go crazy betting.
No.
I mean, I like them. I wanted to have a little something in this game. I didn't have anything last year. I think they are the better team. But I'm not recommended you empty your 401k
Absolutely not.
or anything like that. So.
Well, so I'm pretty happy to say that I've got the NFC to win the Super Bowl at a minus 120 price. So we'll be rooting for the Seahawks money line. And then I also did take both ways. Drake May to throw an interception, Seahawks win, getting a plus price there, and then Sam Darnold to throw an interception and the Patriots to win to still get a plus price there. So majority of my action is on the props, but I will be rooting for the Seahawks to get it done.
I also have that one tied up with Drake May to throw an interception, Seattle on the money line. I do have a small wager of the -4 that I actually made immediately after the Seahawks beat the Rams, because I told myself, you're going to be talking about this game for 2 weeks, and you're going to talk yourself into the dog. So I also kind of thought it would move up a little bit there. I wish I would have got the 3.5, but.
Before we sign off, let me also say we got the free party here at South Point. We got the big room, seats about 2,500. We got the best food prices in town. We do not charge anywhere. So in the sports book will be standing room only, but upstairs really is a place to watch it. And great food prices, great everything, tons of TV setups, not a bad seat anywhere.
No, free parking.
And
free admission.
I always joke, park your ass or park your car. Same price, $0. So.
And of course, betting windows everywhere.
Upstairs.
Betting windows, yeah.
Kiosks.
We'll have kiosks, betting windows, man ticket writing stations, everything. So
I do want to just ask you guys one final thing about this game, and just kind of comparing, and we talk about it the whole season with buy low and don't get caught up in how teams look. And then also kind of the other way of looking at this, and maybe when a team shows you who they are. And is that where you're at more, looking at the Patriots and what we've seen and their struggles offensively against these defenses? Because I know a lot of people are going to make the case, and it's hard to ignore it when they say buy low on the Patriots. Seattle kind of sell high here. So,
well, Jay said his numbers came to 4.5 or 5. I think that's what I told you. My numbers are 4.5 or 5. But I guess the eye test, like I said, I think if you look over the last month of the season, just looked to me like the NFC was clearly superior. And, a lot of that goes into my numbers, comparative scores. And, I look at other things also, but I mean, I didn't have Seattle as, double digit favorites,
right.
But the more I looked at it, like I said, I thought the number was right, but I think if you just break it down, if they play their game, I think they should handle this team. Maybe not easily, but 7 to 10 point victory.
Yeah, agree.
I see it that way. I mean, that's the perception. That's the way they're overall people are betting it so far.
That's what makes it fun, right? It is betting, so anything can happen.
Right.
But we'll see. Any final thoughts on the total here, sitting at 45.5? Before Ryan wants to ask about some other futures for next year. But total wise, do you anticipate you're going to get over money the next couple
It's
days?
been all over money, but wise guys are on the under.
Public's on the over.
Okay, so if you are leaning towards the under, wait. Maybe we'll get back to a 46.
I think you could easily, yeah.
Okay, now Brian, for next year's.
Well, before we get to that, we did have a last call for our chat. We did want our viewers' thoughts of in today's poll, so we gave you guys the last scoring play, or things featuring the last scoring play of the game. So last score, anything but a touchdown, getting a plus 120 price here at the South Point. Seahawks, last team to have the ball. Last play of the game being a QB rush, whether it be an actual carry or a QB kneel, laying a minus 180 there. And then the Patriots to be the last team to score, getting a plus 110 price there. And 45% of our chat says the last score of the game will be anything but a touchdown. So whether that be a field goal or a safety, our chat's going there for a plus 120 price there. And then, Vinny, I am going to do it to you about next year's Super Bowl odds, because the last team on the board is the New York Jets, but the favorites are the Buffalo Bills, Los Angeles Rams, and Seattle Seahawks.
Remember what I said before about the D in the fence, and they're lying. They don't really want. And somebody said Ryan's not going to ask about the Jets. And I knew he was lying. Yeah, the Jets next year, early 200 to 1, the long shots, and rightfully so, because they continue to screw up everything they do. It's starting with the draft. So, by the way, these two teams were not exactly favorites.
No.
You look at the Patriots, like 80 or more to 1. Okay. Yeah. 50 to 60 on the Seahawks. And both these teams lost their first game, too. So, first game of the season. But You know, and you can't. The one thing, you know, Ryan, in all seriousness, you can't make the Jets because you look at it and go, "My God, the Jets should be like 200 to 1 to, you know, just to make the playoffs." You have to remember, you just don't know, and you have to take into account what's going to happen, not only with the draft, but with free agent signings and trades and things like that too. So, you know, I think a great example of that is probably looking at the Raiders at 100 to 1, and everybody's assuming that they're going to, you know, draft Mendoza, number one, and that's the likely favorite. But I could tell you this: there's a school of thought out there. Do the Raiders trade Max Crosby and that number one pick and start building the team differently with, you know, offensive players, offensive line, defensive line, and then get a good free agent in under center, and then look at next year's draft for the quarterback of the future? So that's going to impact that number too. So while a lot of these numbers look really, you know, low, you know what? You have to pay, you know, from our side of the counter, we have to pay attention to that, especially when Tampa made that trade for Brady that one year, and there were people out there that had, and good for them, who had anywhere from 60 or more, 75 or more to 1 on the Buccaneers that year.
A few bets here at the South Point that were made preseason. You must have dropped immediately after you got that much on them. Pat's at 100 to 1. You guys have about $1,000. I think 1,000 or 1,500 on 80 to 1, and then 500 on 75 to 1. So not too crazy there. Seahawks 2,000 on the 75 to 1, and we thought they opened 60 to 1, so that's when we were tracking. Somebody got that in. 1,000 on 60 to 1 for Seattle, and 1,000 on 50 to 1.
And I'm in great shape with both of them.
Yeah.
So,
which is hard because typically you have exposure with the longer shots.
No, but like it took me 12 months to get in this position. You know, it took a lot of maneuvering, and you know, but I'm very happy with where we're at right now.
Vinny, I did hear one thing you said that's very important too, and looking at the long shots. I was looking at Pro Football Focus, and these two teams were 32nd and 31st O-line rankings last year. They've improved to middle of the pack a little bit, like 12 and 15th. Mm-hmm. So you guys don't listen, but everybody out there, when you're looking at your preseason, really look at the trenches here and see if you get any long shots there. But Raiders, maybe we should be careful.
They should look at the schedule as well.
Yeah.
Sure. New England, great example.
Prime example of that is the Broncos played a third place schedule this year, right? And next year they have a first place schedule, and they got the Bills, they have the Rams, they have the Seahawks, they have the 49ers. They play 10, I believe, 10 or 11 playoff teams this year. So when you look at the top of the list there, Bills are going to be playing a second place schedule. Rams are going to play a second place schedule. Seahawks a first place schedule. So take a look at that, and when you're making your future bets to check out some favorable scenarios for your team.
Good point.
Ryan, did you see the tweet too about the last two Super Bowls? The teams that made it, they crossed over with one of the South divisions. I don't know if it was the AFC or the NFC, but that was pretty fascinating too. So looking at the schedule, very important, kind of seeing favorable matchups there.
Yep. Yeah, I believe it was playing the AFC South and the NFC South. I think it was both sides.
Okay.
Yeah, going against their conference's South division, kind of the weaker ones that people kind of view it as. But we did also want to give a shout out to the chat and everybody watching us live. We did have Attila and Jimmy and Bob talking about how awesome it is to have the three bookmakers talking and giving their kind of thoughts on the game, the big game, and how awesome it is that we get to do this every week throughout football season. So we're excited for next year. Hopefully we get a chance to come back and you guys will be here for us. But we also, Alex, did you happen to do your basketball number or have basketball numbers for today? We did have somebody asking about a college basketball game.
Yes, I do.
So looking at Mo was asking for UConn and St. John's. Mo, this is Football Frenzy, so we're making, because it is the final one of the year, we're making the exception to bring up some basketball. But UConn, St. John's there.
Okay, let me pull that up. I actually just put a little bit on St. John's, 80 to 1 to win it all.
Playing better right now. They're playing their best ball of the season right now, actually.
885, 886.
All right, I've really got a pick 'em, and 136 total. So strong lead to the under. Yeah. And if you like that 2.5.
First meeting of the year between these two.
Very good, Vinny. But there is some home revenge from last year for UConn. St. John's beat them at home.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's it from us. Thank you for everybody who commented in the chat, watching us live. We'll be back again Monday. Will you be here Monday with us?
I plan on it.
Monday to recap.
We'll be open no matter what, Alex.
One of the bookmakers here at the South Point will be joining us 10 a.m. Sports by the Book. That is the YouTube channel. Again, we're just 13 subscribers away from hitting our goal. We're trying to get to that by Sunday.
I think we're down to 12. Jay just subscribed.
And Jay is going to help us out there too as well. Jay, thank you so much. It was great having you in. I know a lot of people enjoyed
That really was.
Yeah. Pleasure, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for
buddy.
having
Absolutely.
me. Thank
you guys just chatting and telling old stories. Everybody loves it and enjoys it a lot. Vinny, Chris, thank you. Good luck to all of you guys. Good luck to everybody who is betting on the big game coming up. Now, Ryan and I gave out our prop bets. I think we each have about 8 to 10 prop bets, but you got to go to yesterday's show and you will see we've got a whole whiteboard of our best bets for Sunday. Thank you to the crew, Ann, Jerry, Sean, Vince, and Drew Dog. For Ryan McCormick, I'm Alex White. Thank you to the bookmakers here, the legends, Chris, Jay, and Vinny. We'll see you again on Monday. Good luck and enjoy the big game.